Let's talk about the 3 things to do to rank number 1 on Google. Welcome to Life Hacks with Andrew. I'm Andrew Messia. Today we're talking about 3 ways to rank number 1 on Google. So first of all, let's talk about search engine optimization, a set of practices designed to improve the appearance and positioning of web pages in organic search results. A good SEO strategy is essential for improving the quality and quantity of traffic to your website. That's very key, quality and quantity. A lot of times people want a ton of traffic to their website. I come across potential clients that always tell me that they want to improve their rankings because they want more traffic to their website. My job usually is to tell them, okay, I agree with that. Having a ton of traffic to the website is great, but would you rather have a ton of traffic that is irrelevant or a small amount of traffic that's super relevant that converts into sales? And usually the answer is that I want more converting. Well, usually the answer is, why can't we have both? A ton of traffic that converts. Well, it doesn't work like that for all industries. Not every industry in the world has keywords that rank for highly transactional purposes. So let's talk about the 3 things to do to rank number 1 on Google. A little bit of edification before I get started. The name of our company is biggainsmedia.com, and we help rehab centers increase web traffic and admissions. And we do that through search engine optimization and other things, but search engine optimization is very key to this whole process. And these tactics that I'm going to talk about, these 3 ways to increase your search engine rankings, can be used for any industry. Usually 80% of the click-throughs go to positions 1, 2, and 3 on the organic search results on Google. So what does that mean? You want to focus on great content. Great content is anything better than what the competition has. And great content can be broken down scientifically. And this is what I've done. I'm going to give you a real life example of a client that we have that was a small client and now they're a bigger client, because we helped them change their online presence and obviously made their phone ring a lot more than they were before, and they've been able to expand and become a bigger rehab center. So these guys are a rehab center out in Pennsylvania, in a small town, in a rural town of Pennsylvania called Doylestown, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour away from Philadelphia. When they were just a potential client, I asked them, well, wouldn't it be nice if you could rank for the keyword Philadelphia rehab? And of course they said, yeah, that would be amazing, but we are not in Philadelphia. And I said, well, what if I can rank you number 1, 2, or 3 for the keyword Philadelphia rehab, or Philadelphia drug rehab, or drug rehab Philadelphia? Would that make a difference to your business? And they would said, that's amazing, but no one's been able to do it. We've been in this business for a few years now, and everybody has a big talk, but they don't deliver. And that's very typical in search engine optimization for agency or freelancers, because when a client asks, can you do this? The first answer is yes, and then they try to figure it out. When they don't reach the goal, they usually say, well, it's Google being Google, or we don't have any control over Google. But the fact of the matter is that there are practices that you can do, and based on my experience and based on research over the last 15 years doing this, I've found methods that can actually rank someone that is not in a certain city on the first page of Google. Granted that it cannot be a very competitive keyword. If you're, for example, Los Angeles rehab or Miami rehab, if you're not in Miami, the likelihood of you ranking for that keyword is very, very, very low. The way that I found out that these guys had a fighting chance was that the search results that came up were of recovery centers that weren't particularly in Philadelphia. For example, startyourrecovery.org. This is just a list of rehab centers in their network that are there. So startyourrecovery.org is not even in Philadelphia per se. They're just a website that created a list of behavioral health recovery centers that are in Pennsylvania. Expertise.com, again, 16 best Philadelphia drug and alcohol rehab centers. That obviously tells me that theexpertise.com is just a website that created a list. So when I saw this, my eyes lit up because I said, well, none of these guys are located in Philadelphia. The only ones that are located in Philadelphia are the ones that come up in the map pack, but that's okay. Well, we're not going to compete with those because, again, you're not in Philadelphia. So how can we rank? And as you can see, our client here is ranked number 2 for Drug Rehab Philadelphia. This is their page. So how did we get there? Because they did not exist. This page didn't exist when we acquired them as a client. So how do you focus on great content in order to rank and beat out websites that are, ranking on the top, 10 of search results? Especially websites that are big. For example, expertise.com, rehabs.com, therecoveryvillage.com. These guys get millions of views, and we're just this tiny rehab center in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. So when you focus on content, you can break it down scientifically, and this is what I do. I take all of the top 10 search results. I created an Excel spreadsheet like this one, and I put all of the top 10 search results, the URLs, here. And then I run them across various metrics. The most important one for content generation right now, just for the sake of what we're talking about, focusing on great content and beating the competition out, is to figure out how many words each competitor or each of the top 10 results have written on their page. So how do you get this in bulk? There's a website, SEOreviewtools.com. They have a ton of tools. All I do is type in this into Google and then put word counter. And here, what I can do is take my list of 10 of the top 10 results, paste it into their little tool here, and now I have the whole list with all of their word counts. And then what I do is I export this to an Excel spreadsheet, and I copy paste the total word count onto my spreadsheet here, which I did already. And now I've got an average amount of words that are written on the top 10 results. So what we did was we took the average, which was about 2,000, and we filled it with more than 2,000 words, 2,275 words. What type of words, though? My intention is either to find help for myself or find help for a loved one. I may or may not have health insurance that can cover rehab. So I'm either looking for free resources or an actual rehab center that I can call and get my answers for my problem. That's what we saw, and we said, okay, well, let's build a resource page. And we're not going to sell people right away. So we say, we're one of the best in Philadelphia that serves Philadelphia. We don't say that we're in Philadelphia. Google doesn't like when you trick them or you try to trick them. Google is getting smarter every single day. Literally, there are updates to the algorithm pretty much daily. So they are getting smarter. It is learning on its own as well because there's machine learning going on. So it's not like you can say, we are a drug rehab in Philadelphia when on your website, your address is somewhere else. So we serve Philadelphia, etc. And as you scroll down, we even tell them that on this page, we're going to talk about free rehab centers, but our closest therapy center, in case you need us, is right here. And here's the Google map. It's 55 minutes away, and this is what traffic looks like right now. And as you scroll down, you'll see that we have find a local meeting. And this is a free resource, and we update this regularly as to where the Alcoholics Anonymous meetings are, where the Narcotics Anonymous meetings are, where if you're a family member, where to go for Al-Anon or Alateen meetings. And if you don't want Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, there is an alternative which is called Smart Recovery. And here are their meetings and their address with the map, with the link to their page or their Facebook group page. So imagine if you are looking for the keyword Philadelphia drug rehab and you come across this page, not only have you found a treatment center that you can call to get answers, But you can also find resources that are free, resources that you can literally go to deal with your addiction, or refer to the friend or the family member that is suffering from an addiction. And Google likes this. Google likes when you are very focused on the keywords intent, on the search intent. So for example, let's go back to a restaurant. Let's say you own a restaurant, an Indian restaurant in Chicago. If someone types in Chicago, curry in Chicago, or tikka masala in Chicago, or the best tikka masala in Chicago, they're not looking for a recipe. They're looking for a comparison of the different tikka masala dishes that there are at different restaurants in Chicago. Maybe they're looking to watch a video of someone eating the tikka masala. So you've got to figure out what is it that people are searching for, and the best way to find that out is by literally just Googling it. The next thing is you want to analyze the title and meta description of the competition. Title and meta description isn't as important for the actual search engine ranking, because you can have a terrible title and still rank fairly well for a keyword. But a big ranking signal in the Google algorithm is when people see your result in the search engines, do they click through? Are they clicking on it? And if you're not getting click-throughs, they're going to rank you lower, because they want to put out the best result for the user. So for example, Google, drug rehab Philadelphia. Let's look at these meta descriptions. So before we had ours, I looked at all of these and I saw, first of all, there's a certain amount of characters that you should be using for both the title and the description. First of all, in order to figure out what to write in our title and our description, I looked at what these guys were writing. They were using words like top. They were using the words best. They were using the keyword drug rehab. They were using other keywords, for example, like treatment, detox, our drug rehab, our drug and alcohol outpatient rehab center. So I analyzed all this and then came up with our own. And again, over the last couple of years, I've been changing and adapting and testing, and I've gotten to the point where I was able to get them to the second page of Google, not solely because of the title and the description, but also because of the content that we keep updating and adding to that page. But this helps for when someone searches this, for them to click through. Because before, when we were like number 8, this was different. Alcohol and drug rehab in Philadelphia. It used to say alcohol and drug rehab resources in Philadelphia. So when someone read that, they weren't clicking on it. They weren't clicking through when they saw it at position number 8, because they're not looking for resources. They're looking for answers. They're looking for an answer for their alcoholic spouse, or for their drug addicted son, or for their own addictions. They don't want to just read about resources. They want to know that we're a rehab center. So I changed it to alcohol and drug rehab in Philadelphia, PA. Find addiction recovery treatment and free resources like AA and NA. Boom. Like if I were a drug addict, or if I were the parent of a drug addict, or a relative or a friend of a drug addict or an alcoholic, and I read this, I would click on this because 1, I know that they are in my area of Philadelphia, and 2, they're not just trying to sell me their rehab program and say, hey, fill out this insurance form to see if you can pay for this. They're telling me that, hey, we have a list of resources that you can literally take action on right now, like AA and NA. And then when they come to the page and they stay on the page for more than a minute, because our average time on this page spent via Google Analytics, I know that they're spending more than a minute reading through this. As a matter of fact, it's more than 2 minutes, and that tells me that they're actually reading all of this information. And then they're either leaving the page because they got the information that they needed, one of these, or they're calling us by clicking this button. And that's the most important metric, is how many people are going to click this button. The other thing that you want to figure out is how many links are on each page, right? You want to be able to link to outside resources and internal resources. A lot of the times people will write, let's say 2,000 words, 5,000 words, but not even link anything within inside of their website or outside of their website. And Google doesn't like this. Google wants to know where you're getting your information. You know, it's like if you're writing a research paper and you don't cite your sources, your professor or whoever's reading it is not going to believe that you came up with all of this information yourself. You got it from somewhere. And Google is the same way. Google is like the professor that's grading your paper. If you don't have outside resources, the likelihood of you ranking may be lower. And you can figure that out again by using the same word count tool that I showed you. And it tells me how many links they have on their website and what's the average amount of links on these top 10. And it gives me a number to shoot for. If I'm going to write 200 plus words, I should have an anchor text density, or a word count to link density, of 23%. Ours is lower and we still rank number 2 on Google. So again, this is not a definitive answer, but it gives you a good number to shoot for. And it keeps it in your consciousness as you're writing content. You don't want to just write content and not do internal linking and external linking on the page. You want to link to relevant content that you've already written or that you have on your page, whether it's the home page that you're leading them back to, or a service page that you have, etc. So if you take a look at, for example, our clients page here, you could see that there are a ton of links, including, links to maps, Google Maps, Facebook. And within the content itself, there are links, for example, like who wrote this, who was it medically reviewed by, etc. When I was taking a look at who ranks number 1 for all this stuff, I realized that this information is just a list. They're not edifying who wrote it. Let me see if I scroll down. Do I have the writer? No, they don't even have the writer on here. So I said that, well, we can one up these guys. Look, they literally did the same thing that we did, or actually we did what they did, but yet we did it better because we have a more up-to-date list. They only have 3 resources. As you can tell, our resources are much more than these on our page for AA and NA meetings. So our list is bigger. That's why Google ranks us more, even though these guys may have more words. As you can tell, these guys are a multi-million-dollar company right here. They spend a lot of money researching this and doing these pages. So all we did was just copy and make it better. You don't have to be the inventor of this stuff. All you got to do is take a look at what the competition is doing. Usually the competition has more money than you do if they're ranking 1, 2, or 3. Not only copy them, but make it better than what they have. And that's what we did with our page, and that's why we outrank them. Number 2, you need to build great backlinks. What is a backlink? A backlink is when another website links back to your website. The more high quality backlinks that you have, the better. For example, if you are a pizza shop and the Chicago Times or the Chicago Tribune does an article on their food review page and they link to your website, that is an amazing backlink. And that's going to give you a lot of juice in Google's eyes because it deems you as a little bit more important than the competition that's not listed on the Chicago Tribune or whatever it is. So how do you get these backlinks? How do you get the Chicago Tribune to write for you? You've got to reach out. You've got to reach out and you've got to tell people what you have. And sometimes it takes a lot of emailing and a lot of outreach that you may not have time for. You may have to hire someone to do this for you. But the more you do it and the more that you reach out, you can start with the local places, smaller businesses, and saying, hey, can I write a blog post? But eventually, as your website gets bigger and your content gets better, you can start reaching out to the bigger ones like Architecture Digest or even Time Magazine. For example, in the drug rehab space, we've reached out to The Mighty. The Mighty is a big behavioral health website, and we have an author profile there now. And on various blogs and magazines that, for example, thefix.com, they get millions of visitors. They're a drug and alcohol behavioral health related magazine online. And we have an author profile because we kept persisting and saying, hey, we just want to give you free information, free content. Eventually, they liked what we wrote, and now we have an author profile on there for any of our clients to write on. So it's worked. So Google has this great thing called the Advanced Google Search Operators. And there's this great URL that gives you all of their Google's advanced search operators, like how to use Google to your advantage to find specific things. So before, instead of going through all that, I'm just going to give you the quick way. So for example, if I'm looking for guest blog post opportunities and I've kind of tapped out all my local resources, etc., I'll go to Google and I type in text. So in the text of all websites on the internet, please look for these words: guest author and addiction. They don't have to be together. They can be separate. I just want to know. I want all the results on the internet that have that. And here we go. BreakingCycles.com, which is a very big blog, has accepted guest authors. Treating Addiction Like Cancer, guest author, Diane Mintz. So right away, I know that I can go to their contact page and say, hey, I noticed that Diane Mintz was your guest author on this article, which is great. I have another idea for a guest post. And usually for a big place like this, I already have the guest post written and I send it to them and I say, hey, this is my author profile. This is my LinkedIn. This is our business. And I'll link whatever client we're doing the outreach for. And then they come back to us and say yes or no. And I keep going until they tell me why. Like when they say no, they usually tell you why. But if they don't tell you why, I keep asking, or I'll call and say, hey, or in the email, I say, who can I call and ask about this? Because this is a very relevant and high quality backlink. So that's how you use the Google Advanced Search. Another great way to acquire a backlink is through university links for a scholarship. If you have a small business and you can afford to give a student $300, $500, $1,000 at the beginning of the next semester, you come up with a scholarship idea. So for example, North Point Recovery we created a scholarship. So it's like a contest, right? We are currently not offering it, right? This was when the pandemic hit. But before the pandemic, this was all the application information. Then the applicant needed to write 500 to 1,000 word essay detailing the ways in which you have helped yourself or others in the face of drug and alcohol addiction. Submissions must include blah, 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 all the requirements and stuff. And then they got submissions. But how do you get submissions? The way that you get submissions is by reaching out to all of the universities. And there are literally list of university scholarship. So the scholarship way is a great way. It's not the only way. You shouldn't just rely on scholarship page to build all of your backlinks, but it's a great way to give you those .edu backlinks that are very valuable and high quality. And you also get free content out of it because the people are writing content about drug rehab. So you get a double win there. And you spent $1,000 in the whole year for that marketing channel, or maybe less. Technical SEO, considered the third signal that Google looks at when ranking web pages. So you want to use Google Page Speed Insights. So that one's very easy. Let's just go Google that. Google Page Speed Insights. There is a website that Google has, and you put in your website. I'll use Peace Valley. It'll tell you how your website is performing on mobile and on desktop. Mobile being the most important because typically 60% of traffic to a website is people on their mobile phone, and the other 40% is either tablets, desktop, laptop, etc. So it'll give you like a score, 28. Again, speed on mobile isn't like a major factor, but if you start improving this, and you want to do various analysis, don't just do one. You might want to do like 5 or 10 of these because it'll give you a different number every time, but you'll have a range. Sometimes it'll be higher, sometimes it'll be lower, and it'll give you exact information as to why it's getting a 24 out of 99. And then you want so now it's 67. So you see it goes up and down, but you'll have a range, and then it'll tell you, it took 2.7 seconds for the first content paint to appear. And who can fix this? A programmer. A programmer could take a look at this and say, oh, I understand what's going on here, and I know what plugin or what to do on the back end to improve this. And this is how much it's going to cost. You don't have to pay them right away. They can analyze this and look in your back end and say, oh, your JavaScript's all fucked up. It's going to take a lot, to fix this. Again, you may not, I put this as number 3 because you should really be focusing on content backlinks first and then figuring this out. Unless if your website's terribly slow, then you obviously want to fix that. But as you can see, our client's page here is not the fastest in the world, yet they rank number 2 for many keywords. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm doing a live stream every single day for the next 2 years. And one of the topics that I'm going to be talking about every week is going to be about digital marketing, because again, that is my forte. That's what I've built my small empire on, and it continues to grow because 1, I focused on high quality service. 2, I focused on having a small amount of large clients. And 3, because I was very anal retentive, compulsive with my communication with those clients. In the digital marketing industry, it's very, very common, whether you're a programmer, a search engine optimization expert, or specialist, to have very poor communication, because usually they have many clients, and many of those clients are small clients that want the world from them. So they either get jaded, burnt out, or just way too busy to even answer a phone call, answer a text, or answer an email. I would make sure that no matter how small or big my client is, that I would answer within the hour, that I catered to their every need. And then I started jacking up my price because performance was improving and on their website. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Have a great day.